Okay, so in your blackboard, the next one is using asymmetrical and space, and then changing again back to one color, because that way we had 5 instead of 4 different ones. All right, so space is several different things that are happening. In space, you can use perspective. So you can have 1-point perspective. So that's what's going on in the top here in the example, that all of your lines are going to one vanishing point. You can have 2-point perspective where you go a different vanishing point, 3-point perspective or foreshortening, and then all of those include some kind of overlapping within it. So the one that I'm going to show you has overlapping with it. All right, so I'm back to my alligator, and what I'm trying to do is have different sizes going back into space as they overlap. And aerial perspective was the thing that I didn't really talk about. And aerial perspective means that the thing that's closest to you is either darker or brighter, and it's blurrier and smaller as it goes off into the distance. So I've overlapped her and I've changed the value, so as it goes back, she gets darker and she's the brightest in the front. And then I made lines to do the 1-point perspective. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is increase the canvas size about twice as much as I have here. So, and if I have to change it back, that it's too big, it'll be easy enough to do. So I'm going to make the height be about 12 and the width be about 9 in relative, and fit on the screen. So I have this much space to work around it. And then I'm going to use my tool, that's the magic wand, to take away all of my white background. And then I'll just hit the delete button as I click on it, and all the white is going to go away. Wherever I click, I'm going to have to zoom in to get this last little bit of white here in the corner. Okay, so she now is just black, white, and gray again. Now, here is really a neat image adjustment thing that you can do. It is image adjustment gradient map. And the gradient map will let you do all kinds of colors and all kinds of things. It includes photography filters. They include bright pop art colors. You know, so you can make it your item just by clicking on a gradient map, any bright colors or any soft colors. And if you have this corner toolbar in yours, you can choose specific ones. So like if you want to try special effects, and I'm just going to add it to it. And down at the bottom, then I have some special effect colors like blue and black, or green, or rainbow. You can just add them on and see how they are. Pastels. I'm going to pin the pastels. And there she would be with pastel colors. Now, if you're not really happy with it, you can fade it and make it less bright. You know, if it's too bright, or you could try under fade, you could try dodging or pin light or any of those things, and see if you like that better. So if I did luminosity and then I faded, I've got gray. So I'm not going to try that one. But if I do hard mix and I fade it, it's yellow and green. So I'm not crazy about that either. And I can also go into adjust. Remember when we did that at the end, and go to hue and saturation and change those colors there as well. Kind of like her as an orange bulldog. Less saturated, more saturated, light, dark. All right, so that's my brightest one. Then I'm going to duplicate her. And now I'm just going to go to image, adjust, hue, saturation, and desaturator for the next one as it goes back into space. So my brightest one is at the very beginning. This time I will pump up the vibrance a little so she'll be brighter in the foreground. All right, so now you can see my overlapping bulldog is a little dimmer as it goes back into space, but they're all the same size, so I can free transform them and make it smaller as it goes back into space. So it's both dimmer and smaller. And that will help create space in your piece. If you're really adventuresome, you could try some of the other things that are there, like skew, perspective, warp, so your bulldogs aren't exactly all the same. So you can make its rear be a little bit bigger, or its front be a little bit different, or you could try the perspective. So as they go back into space, besides them being smaller, that they don't quite look like they're exactly the same dog. That edit, transform. This one I'm going to play with the perspective a little bit. Maybe make it a little wider in the front than the one that's behind it. All right, and then since overlapping helps create the image of space, I can kind of move them around a little bit, so I am overlapping each one just a little. All right, the next thing that we had that helped make space was perspective and a vanishing point. So if you can put a vanishing point within your piece, then you'll have greater use of space. So I'm going to create a new layer and put it underneath everything and draw a road or a sidewalk or something like that that shows a vanishing point. So I'll start, that one's probably too narrow, and she's stepping off of it, so I'll come over a little bit and draw a street or a sidewalk or a road for it to be walking, for them to be walking along. So not only are they getting smaller and lighter, then they're getting to be they're working on a vanishing point on the plane of my whoops, that didn't work. Gotta select it first. All right, and so this time I'm going to use the gradient tool and try to make it lighter to darker as well as it goes back into space for the sidewalk. Since my dogs were, no, I had to do it the other way around. So let's try that way. So the sidewalk is lighter as it goes back into space. And then I'm just going to put a background around it and crop it. So I'll go, since I've got orange and blue. The colors on this one were supposed to be monochromatic. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue in color and then limit the color when I'm done, since I have orange and green, and they're more triadic in color. So I'll put some green grass around the outside. Paint bucket. Let's see which one is right. That's going to be it. I know that my top one is too far in, so I'm going to move it down, and then I'm going to crop this off. All right. So my first one I'm going to move forward as far as I can. Second one overlapping just a little, and then the third one overlapping just a little bit more. All right, since he's not monochromatic or analogous, I can go into mode and try a different type of mode. And one thing that I haven't used is dual color, which will make it go back to grayscale. Don't merge. Image adjust. Mode. Dual color. Font. Red. Brown. 3. 4. Okay. And crop it one more time. All right, so now I have a monochromatic red space with both perspective overlapping and aerial perspective of getting darker to lighter as I go back into space. And that would take care of number 3 of all kinds of space.